All right, today we are going to start chapter 7, which is all about polynomials. Inside of this chapter, we're going to be working on what a polynomial is, adding and subtracting, multiplying polynomials. But then we're also going to work backwards, and we're going to do some factoring out GCFs, factoring trinomials, binomials, several different things inside of this chapter. We're going to start off today with day 1, which is simply let's learn about polynomials, and then how do we add and subtract them. So the first thing we're going to do is let's talk some vocabulary. So the first thing here is we have this word term. You've heard me use it maybe throughout the year, but let's define it. So a term is simply a number, a variable, or a product of a number and a variable. Remember, product means multiplication. So what that means is a term can be a number like 2, a term could be a letter like W, or it could be the multiplication of a number and a letter like 4x or negative 5y squared. All four of those are terms. Now, if you notice, a term does not include addition or subtraction in it. Okay? Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is let's talk about polynomials. A polynomial is simply an expression that contains terms that are added or subtracted from each other. Now, there are 4 special polynomials. The first one is called a monomial. Monomial, the suffix of mono means one term. So it would be something like 7x would be a monomial. A binomial is the second special one. Bi meaning 2, so a binomial is 2 terms. So it'd be something like 5x minus 4, 3x plus 2. The next special one is called a trinomial because it has 3 terms. So you're looking at something like 5x squared plus 4x minus 7. You could do negative x squared plus 6x plus 23. That's another trinomial. And then the fourth term that we use is a constant. And a constant is simply a one-term polynomial, so a monomial, but it has no variable in it. So it would be like 9, negative 5, 2, negative 7. Those types of numbers would be called constants. Now, if a polynomial has more than 3 terms, we don't have a special name for it. We just simply call it polynomial. Okay, now the next thing we need to figure out is how do we know what the degree of a polynomial is? The degree of a polynomial is simply the exponent on the variable of each term. So here are 4 examples. So if I asked you, what is the degree? So here, if we look, I have this has an exponent of 2, and it's on my variable, so this would be a second degree. Here, on the second one, we have our variable. There's nothing written, so this would be a first degree. Here, it doesn't have a variable, so this would be a 0 degree polynomial. And the last one here would have a 7th degree, all because we're looking for those exponent values on the variable. Okay, now when we go to write in our standard form, what we simply do is we write the polynomial in order from the highest degree to the lowest degree. So I look here, and I have 5x minus 4 plus 7x squared. So when I look, this is my highest degree, this is my second, and then that one would be my third. So I write them in order. Make sure that you keep the sign. So that is a positive 7x squared. It is a positive 5x, and it is a negative 4. So this would be written in standard form. Notice my exponents decrease as I go across. On the next one, I look, here's my highest, x to the 5th. My next one is x to the 4th. My next one is x to the 3rd. So to write those, make sure you keep the sign with them. So negative 8 x to the 5th plus 9 x to the 4th minus 4 x to the 3rd. And that is how we write a polynomial into standard form. All right, now the next thing we want to talk about is how do we add and subtract these? So adding polynomials, all you simply do is you just combine the like terms. Pay close attention to the signs, positive or negative. So when you add them, you just add things that are alike. Remember, like terms, they have to be identical. So x's can only add to x's, x squareds can only add to x squareds, x to the fourth can only add to x to the fourth. You're adding them so the exponents do not change. All right, so let's give this a shot. So we're going to start here on this first one. I look and I'm looking for like terms. So I start off with my 4x and my negative 6x. So 4x plus a negative 6x would give me negative 2x. The next thing I look for is, are there anything else alike? Well, yep, there is. There's 6 and a 7. Neither one, they're both a constant, so they are alike. So positive 6 plus a positive 7 gets me a positive 13. Okay, let's try the next one. So I look on the second one here, and I start off, my highest agreed one would be negative 3x squared and 5x squared. So negative 3x squared plus 5x squared gives me 2x squared. Then I look again, and I say, okay, do I have any x's? Well, I have 4x and a positive 9x. So 4x plus a positive 9x is going to get me 13x. And then my last one, I look, I have a 6 and a negative 4. So 6 plus negative 4 gets me a positive 2. And that would be it. Now, if you've noticed, I'm going from highest to lowest. And the reason I'm doing that is when I'm done, then that puts it right into standard form, and I don't have to do any rearranging at the end. Okay, let's try number 3 here. So I look across, I see a w squared. So I'm going to put those together. So 3w squared plus 6w squared gives me 9w squared. My next one that I have is I look across, I have this 8x, but nothing's alike to it. So I'm just going to bring it straight down. And then my final one here is I look, I have a negative 9 and a positive 7. So negative 9 plus a positive 7 gets me a negative 2. And that is how we add polynomials. Now, to subtract polynomials, we're going to do basically the same thing, but we have to change the subtraction to an addition. Remember, early in the year, we talked about this thing called the add op property, where we take the negative, we multiply it to the thing behind it, and then we change the subtraction to an addition. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to multiply by the negative 1 to the grouping behind the subtraction. Then we simply collect like terms just like it was addition. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start in here and I'm going to say, okay, I see my subtraction. So I'm going to make that a plus. The 4 was a positive, so I'm going to make it a negative. The 7x is a negative, so I'm going to make it a positive. Now I look for like terms. So I have 5x, I have a positive 7x, and that is going to give me 12x's. Then I come back and I start in and I have a negative 6 and a negative 4, and that's going to get me a negative 10. And that would be my answer. On the next one, I start in. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change my signs. So plus, 8 is positive, so it's going to make it negative. 4 is positive, it's going to make it negative. And the 9 was positive, so it's going to make it negative. The next thing I do is I start looking for my values now. So I have 6x squared and negative 8x squared. So when I do that, that's going to get me negative 2x squared. My next one that I'm going to do is I'm going to look. Here's my negative 4x and negative 4x. So that's going to give me negative 8x. And my final one that I have is I have a positive 9 and a negative 9, which those are going to cancel and gives me 0 there. So my answer would be negative 2x squared minus 8x. Okay, on this last one, we're going to start in. We take the negative, carry it through, and that will change those signs. Now I look for like terms, so I have 8x squared and negative 8x squared. So that gives me 8x squared plus negative 8x squared. Those are simply going to cancel out. So now I start looking for my next thing. I have a negative 5x and a positive 5x. Well, wouldn't you know, those are going to cancel out as well. I've got a positive and a negative of the same thing. So then my last thing I check is I have a positive 4 and a negative 7. So I add that together, and that gives me a negative 3. And that is our basic vocabulary that we need to know for polynomials and how we add and subtract them.